Stan, you there?
Yeah, yes, I can hear, but I have no image. Just a moment. What did I do wrong? Oh, video. Well, let me put video on. There we go.
I'm
Okay.
actually not sending because I don't have a camera on this device.
That's fine. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that you had a chance to see Skype in my message that I just put in.
I just read it.
Okay, very well. You're fast. Okay. Well, you can understand that I could have given a response to your initial question of sorts, but it would be out of context with the greater awareness that came across me as I began to examine both the diagram and went through line by line the recording of the conversation. And I began to realize there's a more fundamental thing that I just need to look at, and that is with respect to a lot of academic work. Whether these are, if I may call them knowledge objects, if these are knowledge objects that cannot translate to empirical truths, they can still have a form of truth, but since our direction seems to be towards building things that become real-world tools and applications, then I want to see us figure out how to move beyond the theory to the practice. And that's not to say we can't take any project and over time reinvent it to become a set of processes that accomplish what we think we want to do. But that's not what I see as the content within this polyscopic modeling thus far. I think the intent is there, but I believe what it is basically is I'm looking at a knowledge object that's based on belief, not truth. And truth, I do not mean it meaning in any way. That's not the point. But based on the classic definitions of truth and what establishes a truth versus a belief. So, a lot to be said there, but I have a lot of writing, many pages and lots of analysis, but I can't pull it together with the limited time I have. Over.
So, I'm not exactly sure I recall the actual conversation and request. Is it that there is not a synopsis or summary that can help us move this discussion forward?
Okay, what you did ask me at the moment, at the end of our Thursday session, was we were looking at the diagram, the three bubbles. You basically said, Stan, what are your thoughts about the purgatory portion? And so I tackled that because I felt it was time I get into this. And it was there that I began to look at the bigger picture, the whole model, to see where that fit in. And well, one thing led to another, and typical of a wandering mind, I just became aware that we've been for many years in many discussions in many groups, including your own and so on, that I'm always, maybe incorrectly, looking to see these progress towards something that grounds them out into real-world applications. In other words, I want to apply all the wonderful ideas, but can it really be done? And I came to not a conclusion so much as an awareness that it is possible that one of the classic problems with the vast amount of academia out there that never converts to real-world applications that I'm aware of is simply that maybe there is no path from here to there. That the way they're structured, they do not contain the elements of truth. And I'm going to use that as a generic term here for the moment, for want of a better word. They do not contain substance sufficient to translate what sounds like a good belief, but may in fact be not such a good belief if in fact it cannot be translated into action. I mean, theoretically, you and I know we could take anything and convert it to anything else with enough effort. But that's not what a specific statement or paper is all about, a white paper. Not necessarily. If it's either got the truth in it, the steps, the methodologies embedded within it, fine. We've got something that we can bring to the, convert forward beyond the realm of just academic discussion and enforcement of and clarity of beliefs, which is important, very important. It's not to dispel any of that. But you and I, and all the rest of us have talked about converting polyscopic model into actual, in the end, software, if you will, or processes. And I'm looking at that and saying, I don't see that yet. I mean, I can imagine how I might take things and create things, but virtually I would be inventing something wholly new and not necessarily an extension of what's there. I mean, I understand the belief, but I don't understand the path that gets from there to where I think we want to go. Over.
Well, if what I understand of the DETOX box is consistent, then what I'm seeing Dino suggest is this is the place where you re-examine your previous beliefs and your previous paradigms and sort of let go of that particular box.
Yes, and I agree that's exactly what I originally wrote, was that very same thing, that's really what it is. But what it got me to thinking about was my beliefs and what was presented, and then I read his paper in detail and began to realize that the ideas are valid, yes, but what we're wanting to do is come to a programmatic solution to achieve that. And that is not self-evident within the beliefs by themselves, except the belief that we can do it, and with that, the desire to do so. So I'm questioning. We were talking. You guys were asking for some content, I believe, in the conversations. You were kind of looking for some answers, and I was feeling like those answers were more in the nature of something new yet to be invented, as opposed to resident within the content of what I was reading and hearing. So it's just it's a viewpoint, and I may be off base here, but allow me some time to explore.
Well, if it is the case that the material there isn't yet sufficient to pull together something that can be modeled and can be, in a sense, prototyped, then it would be curious what new content you would like to suggest us include.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking to see, how I can build a bridge to define that in a new way. The obvious is we just sit down and design. Well, conceptually I can see it. I don't know that I can put it to words. I'm a little slow at that. But okay, it just looks like there's some work to be done. Let's put it that way. Sorry to hear you really. What, did you do a lot of talking on this 3-day event that you attended?
No, I think the air was really dry. I slept, got a very dry mouth when I woke up.
Oh, yeah. We fight that here in Colorado. When the air gets cold enough, it gets super dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got photographs from a relative that's down at the beach there in Southern California, and it was beautiful. And as we're looking at that, we're looking out the window at better than a foot of snow that's just freshly falling, and a couple more days of that yet to ahead of us. And yet last week we had temperatures up in the 70s or low 70s.
Yesterday here it was 86 in San Jose.
Yeah. Well, that's not unexpected. And there's times like that I'd rather be in California, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how can we proceed today then, given your observations? I'm feeling like I don't want to be talking a lot. I am willing to listen.
Okay. Actually, excuse me.
You still there? Stan, you still there? I can't hear you anymore. You're on mute, probably. Or did you pull out the cable to your microphone? I cannot hear it. Okay, it's back.
Is it okay? Well, that was a flaw in my headset. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm caught between a rock and a hard spot. I'm working very hard right now to get my startup actually out on the internet and so on, and getting some people lined up to try to work with and so on. So it's got a lot of my focus, but I really would like to take this challenge that you gave me and let that be the reason why I get more deeply involved in this. But I started to look at the bigger picture when trying to figure out about how to let go of my precepts, and was defining that as the purgatory thing, letting go. But what that begs is, okay, that's fine to say that's what it means, but the real challenge is, how do we accomplish it? And that, unfortunately, I could not find any evidence of, any evidence that any steps were, or excuse me, processes were defined on how to accomplish that. And then I thought about it for a moment. I said, wait a minute. Yes, any of us could invent what we believe is a reasonable approach to letting go. And in fact, I did a whole multi-page write-up on that concept as I was going down that, and then finally realized, no, all I'm doing is expressing to the rest of you how I might go about it. That is not necessarily an extension of the general idea of how do we move from purgatory, detox, forward. That I would say what troubles me a little bit about that is that, in my opinion, that's Dino's job. If he's going to propose something, then he should be the one telling us his vision of how to get there, although he did state that he's a theoretic person and he looks to others to translate the theory to practice. So it left me kind of like, what should I be looking for? Where are the boundaries here? And it's just something worth talking about.
Well, if you feel that that is something that you'd like to put back into Dino's lab, I would ask you to write that up and say, Dino, I went this far. I think it's your opportunity to take it further. It's in your domain. I would ask you to put that in writing.
Yeah. To boil it down to the sentence that means the most that I grabbed, let me see if I can find my own work there, was what Dino has expressed is a belief, not necessarily a truth. It's not to say that truth cannot be found, but this is the challenge. How do we convert this belief, and where is it going to go? It's easy to take a high-level idea and resonate with it and say, wow, yeah, this is what I'd like to see us accomplish. We want a better world and happier people, and all the types of statements that we could make at a high level. But look at how mankind has struggled up to this point to even try to figure out how to accomplish that. And I think we're on the way. But that's a belief. Can I prove it with statements of truth? No, probably not. Easily anyways. I could argue it, but again, my argument, as Dino's, falls back to a belief that it sounds so logical it must be true type of belief. Whereas, in my opinion, the single word perhaps that connects the two worlds is empirical truth. In other words, we must go from, and I forget what you call this type of truth, it's where logic builds upon logic. There's a point where truth can be elicited from, let's see, trying to see. Well, anyways, my point is, for us to end up with something that actually works, it has to be ultimately based upon empirical type truth, and that comes from doing, in my opinion. Not be a proper definition of that type of truth, but this is what I'm looking at. I'm wrestling with how to get from there to where we want to go, from there to here.
Well, would you like to take another shot for tomorrow, or is that too soon?
I think I'm okay. I do have a morning meeting that I'll have to get off to, but at least we can talk then. Okay?
Yeah. Take another shot. Write up that the challenge for Dino, and hopefully we'll have front on for tomorrow.
That sounds good. Okay.
Thanks, Stan. Sorry, I'm not in more shape to talk today.
No problems. I just appreciate the opportunity to give you at least a status. My concern was to say, yes, I am responding to your request, and the silence that has existed between is my spending what time I can, my share of time, to this. And the more I look into it, the more I realize there's a lot to be said that would be of value, I think, to take it forward, at least to get others' takes on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Stan. I'll try again tomorrow.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.